Hello, my name is Rebecca Kelley. I'm a librarian here at Middleton Library at LSU. I'm the business and mass comm librarian, and I have been the chair of the open house planning committee for the last 3 open house events we've had here at LSU Libraries. And I have Randa Lopez with me today. She's going to be helping me with this presentation. Randa started out helping with the open house as a graduate assistant when she was working in our Research and Instruction Services department. And she did such a great job and helped us a lot with our decorations. And then she was actually hired on full-time as a librarian, and now she's our agricultural support librarian. And she was on our planning committee last year. And so we're going to be talking about how we planned our library-wide open house and how we used data that we collected at different points to help us make decisions and make this this event better each time, hopefully better each time, and how we've learned from mistakes. And so hopefully you guys will be able to learn something from this, or maybe take some things back to your library. And if you have any questions, please let us know, and we will try to answer them maybe at the end. So I'm going to hand this off to Randa. She's going to handle our introduction here and give us a history of our open house.
Great. Good morning. There we go. So in the beginning, we came together and decided, or somebody decided along the lines that we needed an event, or that we wanted an event that would kind of educate our students about what we do in the library. So we really wanted something fun. We did this literature review, and over the time it just kept saying, you want something fun, and not just fun like, like a carnival. You maybe want prizes and some food. You maybe want it to have activities to do during the event. And so when we initially started planning this, we really wanted something that students would think, this is awesome, but also something that they would learn about. We also had this initial idea that we wanted to create this goodwill towards our students. We wanted them to not just think of us as stuffy librarians, but also, maybe librarians who know how to have fun, who want to give away free stuff. And then we really just wanted to shape the perceptions of libraries within our community itself, within our LSU community. And so that was really the initial, when we first started out, those are kind of the things that Rebecca and the committee were thinking about. So initially we had basically a very small budget. We began with only an $800 budget, which is pretty small compared to the size of our campus and things like that, but really we only spent $450. So this is definitely something that can be done even in smaller libraries. We did also create this planning committee, and then when they first met, they really didn't have any formal goals. There was no really objective other than, just kind of this idea of creating an event that would be good for the students. And then, again, we wanted to also make it a library-wide thing, and so we wanted to create this committee from faculty and staff from other departments of campus, or other departments in the library, sorry. So again, we wanted it to be a library-wide event. We didn't want just one department to single-handedly take it all on. So with this past committee, we had people within Research and Instruction Services, but we also had people within interlibrary loan department. We've used people within special collections, which that was awesome. Michelle Melanson did a lot of our design stuff, so that was cool. We also brought people in to participate that were not just library people, but into other entities such as Lewis, the Center for Academic Success, which is our tutoring center housed within the library. And then when we first began, we also included outside library entities such as VetMed, which is the vet medical library, which is not a part of the LSU libraries, and then the law library as well. So, this was a huge undertaking, and really we just didn't have any idea about, if it was going to be successful, or if this was even going to be something we could continue to do. And we also, some of the other things we were worried about, would students participate? How many students would attend? Would they visit stations on all the floors of the library, or would they just stick to the main floor that they know? And then really, how do we encourage that participation? And when we found that, through those activities and games and things like that was a great way of doing that. So we sat down and came up with this idea of a passport that we created. It's like this map, and we had 20 tables at the first open house we did, and each of those tables represented an entity or a department within the library that was usually staffed by those people within that department. Students would go around to each station. They would give a 30-second little elevator speech about what they did for the students, some more information. They might give up some handouts. They might play a game. Government Documents has been great about coming up with really fun interactive games that the students can do. Sometimes they would win prizes or additional prizes. So this was really, and they would collect these stickers on this passport, and then they would be entered in for a chance to win a larger prize later on. The passports allowed us to collect a lot of data, such as, how many students are going to each station, how many students in general, things like that. So we decided to make the first one spring 2014. We made it a Mardi Gras theme, so that was fun. Purple, green, and gold beads. We had king cake. So that was a really great event, especially for our first one. We did try to keep it on 4 of the 5 floors, although we really utilized just the first floor, and we'll discuss later about some pros and cons to that. And then the dean at the time, she decided she wanted to put it in the fall so that we could better approach the incoming freshmen. And so that kind of helped us shift our idea from this library-wide, building goodwill community thing to more like focusing just on incoming freshmen and showing them what we have to offer. And then we decided after midterms would be probably the best time to do it. That's when students realized they need the library the most, or when we thought they needed the library the most. And then usually around Halloween, because midterms falls right around Halloween. So this created an opportunity for us to do a fall 2014 Halloween-themed and fall 2015 Halloween-themed event, which was actually a lot of fun. So the first one that we actually planned took us about 4 to 5 months. There was a lot of staying late. There was a lot of meetings because really there was no groundwork. We just had to kind of just start from scratch. Now we spend about 5 months on it, but we're a lot more organized. We know what to do, what to expect. Really, experience is everything when it comes to this. And then we had food, entertainment. We had music playing. So for the first one, we had Mardi Gras themed and dance music, things like that. And then for the second one, we had fun classic Halloween songs. And then we also gave away prizes such as a Nook one year. We talked to Raising Cane's, and they provided a gift basket, different cards, gift cards, and things like that. So it was really fun, and that's what we were trying to stress. And then another thing to think about is the open house fund doesn't have to equal expensive. We worked with our on-campus food vendor twice to get donated food. One year we actually spent money and bought the food, but we bought like cupcakes and cookies, so a lot less expensive than say if we were to go out and buy pizza, which is what we had donated last year. We talked to our local businesses and companies to get prizes. Our students are their potential customers. So we have a Subway located behind the library, and he does some of his best business from the students there. And so he thought that giving some cookies or donating cookies to us to give away was one way of him giving back to the students who spend so much money at his Subway. We also asked various entities, such as First Year Experience, to donate different materials for our prize bags. Any advertising, that they wanted, we could easily just put in a prize bag. And, this is their chance to have a reliable, trusted name, such as the LSU Libraries, promote resources. So I think that was really cool. And then we actually had a DIY for most of the decorations, do it yourself. I will say you should never underestimate how much a giant roll of paper, some scissors, and good old ingenuity can accomplish. Most of our decorations for our first year, almost all of them, were stuff that I created or the other GA helped me with. And then we also Pinterest tons of ideas. And basically, if I saw something on Pinterest that I really liked, I would take it to Rebecca, and she would give me the approval. And then I would just figure out a way to make it without spending tons of money. So a lot of our stuff was, things that we had around the library, such as giant rolls of paper and scissors and tons of double-sided tape. And so if you've seen that picture, that's just one example. The other thing we did, and Rebecca might talk about this in a little while, is we did ask other departments to decorate their sections, and we had like a contest. So that was one way we didn't have to spend so much money decorating the entire library. So this is the Research and Instruction Services desk. And you can see there, those headshots were just the library's headshots that I took and put in a free software. So that was pretty easy to do, and then cut out tombstones and things like that, and spider webs, and Marty Miller also helped make the zombie on the door, and so it was very collaborative. So this past year, we decided to create some objectives and to create, focus our target audience a bit. This really helped us to, kind of keep it from getting too big and too too crazy and outlandish. So we really wanted to kind of focus back in. So those are our objectives: to educate students, highlight resources and services. We want to publicize the libraries in a fun way. So, every time we were like, well, what if we added this? We could always go back to that objective and say, does it match what our objectives are? If it doesn't, then we could probably cut it. So this has evolved into a large annual event. It has reached so far over 500 students each year we've done it. The first year a little less than that. And we hear all the time, I wish I would have known about this my freshman year. That was something a lot of the students have said, especially the older students said. And so that's really exciting to hear stuff like that and for them to get excited about an event. So yeah.
This is Rebecca again. So we're going to talk now about some of the data that we started collecting after our spring event and how we use this data to help us plan future events. So the types of data that we collected, attendance statistics. This is where students were coming into the library and we had a card tracker and we were able to swipe their student ID and we were able to get a list of all those students' emails. And so then we were able to send out a Qualtrics survey after the event. And we also had attendance data from each station. The students visited the different stations and they put a sticker on their passport. And so when they turned those passports in at checkout, that's how they got entered into the drawing. And so we were able to tell how many students were visiting each station. This helped us determine when we needed to maybe move a station if students weren't finding it, or if we had too many stations on one floor. It also helped us know how many students checked in and then where the drop-off was, how many students actually turned in a passport and finished our open house. And so all of this information has helped us in different ways. In addition to that, something I did not put on this slide, it's just the information that you get as you walk around an event and observe. That is also data. That's information that you can use to help make those decisions. So the first thing we were trying to figure out is this event something that we can do every year? Can we keep up? Can we sustain this? Can we do this every year? If we don't have a budget, can we still do it? And then also, how can we improve it from year to year? So what you're seeing now is our attendance statistics over the years. We've done this 3 times now. And so you can see, I'm going to talk about spring 2014 first. We did not have a goal at all. We had no expectations. We had no way of knowing how many students would even attend. And so you can see that we had 318 students that actually swiped in at our check-in station that wanted to participate in our event. And you can see if you look at fall of 2014 and 2015, we doubled that number both years. So we figured out what to do to improve it in that regard. And then we have the second row is the minimum number of stations. This is students that visited a particular number of stations that we required for them to get their name put into the drawing. And we have shifted that over the years. The first year that we did this, we had 20 stations around the library, and students had to go to at least 12 of those 20 stations. So what we discovered is that 35% went to the minimum required. So we didn't have a very high completion rate. We kind of were trying to figure out what caused, what made people check in but not finish. And then we had a surprising figure, something that we didn't even think we would be tracking, because we didn't think the students would go to all the stations. We thought they would go to the minimum. But we had 17% of students that went to all 20. And it was actually quite exciting to see them running around the library with their passports, super excited, trying to find the locations and stopping and asking people where is the ILL desk, and where is the basement, where's government documents. And so they were really excited. It's almost like it was a contest, although there was nothing really extra they gained by going to all 20. So that helped us determine that maybe we needed to give some type of reward for students that went to all 20. Excuse me. And then we also figured that we needed to maybe have them they didn't have to go to quite as many to be able to be entered into the drawing. And so we moved the layout, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but we kind of moved some of the stations around because we discovered that there was too many in certain areas and they weren't visiting all the stations. And so you can see in the next year we made official goal. We wanted 500 in attendance. We really thought that was a lofty goal. And then we had 45% was our goal for the participation rate, and then we still didn't make a goal for visiting all stations. I guess we didn't. I'm trying to remember why we didn't make that goal, but we had 62% of students that finished and went to the minimum number, which was 10 out of the 20. They got their name put in the drawing, and then 38% went to all stations, which we were just super excited about. And so we used that data to turn around and plan our event last year. And so we got quite ambitious. We made a goal of 650 for last fall, and as you can see, we didn't quite make our goal, and I'm going to explain some of the reasons why I think that may have happened. And then we had a goal of 70% of students visiting the minimum number of stations, and we increased that significantly because we actually decreased our number of stations. Instead of having 20 stations around the library, we tried to make it more focused, and we had 13 stations. And so we did meet our goal there as well, and then we wanted to see if 50% of students would actually visit all stations. And you can see, again, we didn't meet our goal. And these are not necessarily, this data is not something that we should be ashamed of. This helps us improve for next time. And one of the things that was a concern that some of us had, and we kind of had to take a gamble, but we wanted to have our event the week of Halloween, and we've had historically had our event on a Wednesday during the middle of the day from 10 to 2. And that particular year, last fall, our date of our event it was the last day before the fall holiday for students. And so we kind of went back and forth on this. Do we need to move it? Do you think students are going to attend? Are students going to be skipping out of classes early and taking their holiday early? And so we made a gamble thinking that they would stick around, go to classes. Not everybody skips classes. What we discovered was in the beginning of our event, we still had high attendance, but as the event went on, it was just less and less people on campus. It wasn't so much the library, it was just on campus in general. So I think with that information, we still feel like our event was very much a success. And we have made a mental note not to schedule it the day before fall break. So we mailed a Qualtrics survey out to our participants each time. So in the spring 2014, we kind of were still fleshing out what things we wanted to track. So we asked them how they found out about our open house. We got an 11% response rate, which we felt like was pretty good. We sent that email out about a week after the event, so we sent it out kind of late. I really think if we had sent it out earlier, we would have had a higher response. Some of those questions, like I have on the slide, were not as useful as others. We asked questions like, did the day and time of the open house work with their schedule? We were really trying to figure out if that day was a good day, and we got good information, but it wasn't helpful in helping us make future decisions. We just decided to go ahead and stick that date and time. And we did ask open-ended questions about, we wanted their feedback, and we asked them what they thought about the event. And we got overwhelmingly positive responses. The students liked the food. They learned about the libraries. They wanted to do it again. We got comments like, I wish you had done this my freshman year, like Randa mentioned. So we kind of tweaked our survey again for the fall 2014 and for last year. And we wanted to find out how they heard about the libraries open house and what drew them to the event. We were really thinking about our publicity and how we could increase awareness. We wanted to find out what they learned. And what they disliked about the event so that we could take that data and help us make better decisions. And our response rate in 2014 was 14%. We emailed that the day after the open house, and I really feel like that was a good response rate. Last year, our response rate fell significantly to 9%. We emailed it the afternoon of the open house, but we really think that the response rate's low, and the same reason that attendance was a little lower was because of the fall break and students were not checking their email. So some of the examples of decisions that we made using this collected data, we're only going to talk about a few of them. There's so many that we could talk about. I could probably talk about this for hours. So we used it to help us make decisions on our food and drinks. What kind of food are we going to have for students? And again, for the prizes and that fun element, we really feel like we needed to know if students, if this was drawing them in. And so we used the data to help us determine that. And then publicity was a really big reason for us trying to get the word out. And then the two really big issues that we've been dealing with is the layout of the event and how traffic and crowding issues affect that. And also the activities that we offer and the interaction we have with the students. These are things that we keep tweaking every year, trying to make it better. So as Randa mentioned earlier, the literature review shows that the students wanted, that if you wanted to have an event like this, that it needed to be fun, we needed to have food and prizes and try to draw the students in that way. And so as she said, we had free king cake, we had beads given out to the students, and the survey that we sent out in the spring after that Mardi Gras themed open house reflected that students loved the free king cake and they did have fun. But we needed to find out if we were on the right track. We needed better data. We needed specific data. And so in fall 2014 and 2015, we asked them, what drew you to the event? Why did you come? Why did they attend? And the results that we got did not surprise us. You can see on here the white bar is the 2014. And so we have free food, prizes, and that it looked fun. Very much the top vote getters. And then fall 2014, we also have the same top three. So you can see that even though the results, we had, remember the bar is lower because we had less respondents, but it's still very much the top three vote getters, followed really easily by other things that are related to fun, being the Halloween theme, the extra credit that they got from some professors and librarian instructors. And then, surprisingly, we actually had a good number of students say that they wanted to learn about the libraries. So that was actually surprising to see, and we were happy to see that. So we really felt like this justified us in our decision to make it a fun event, to provide those incentives, the food, the prizes, the entertainment. It's kind of like if you make it fun, they will come. So we wanted to lure them in so they would actually learn more about the library's resources and services that we offer. So the first decision is not really, it's a decision in the sense that we use this survey question to help us know that we have to have food and drinks. I really do believe if you're having an event like this, even if budget is very low or non-existent, there are ways to get food and drinks or even just food at your event. And we know that the food brings the students in. And so the first year we had king cake and coffee, and as Randa mentioned, we had that donated to us. And that's actually through an auxiliary, LSU Auxiliary Services. They have a grant that they offer. I don't know if other campuses around the state have anything similar to that, but we applied for that the first year, and we were able to get the king cake and coffee from LSU Dining. And so that saved us a lot of money. As I said, we had an $800 budget, and since we didn't have to buy food, we only spent $400 of that. Later in that same year, we had the other event, and so we really didn't approach them about the donation because we felt like that might be too much to ask for in the same calendar year. And so we actually purchased cupcakes and cookies. We purchased them on the cheap. We got them from Sam's for a really good deal. And we did bottled water and had them in ice chest. And so we did have a higher budget that year, and that allowed us to purchase that. And then last year, when we were looking at food, we realized that we needed to have more food. We were getting comments from students in the survey. These are quotes from the fall 2014 survey. When you promise free food, we want more than cupcakes and candy. That isn't food anyway. Or, I was hoping for actual food, like pizza or sandwiches. And then someone else said, they promised free food, and the only thing they had was cupcakes and candy. So clearly to our students, cupcakes and candy and cookies does not equal food. So we really felt strongly that we wanted to try to provide pizza if we could. Other student events on campus, they always seem to have pizza, and that really draws the students in. We did not have the budget for pizza. So we went ahead and prepared in our planning of this event to still go ahead and purchase cupcakes and cookies. That was our ultimate plan if our donation request fell through. And we actually were awarded our grant for the free pizza from LSU Dining, which we were so excited about. And so the free pizza was a big hit. You can see in the picture, the students were standing in line for the pizza. It was delivered in 3 different times during the event, and the pizza would run out, and the students realized there was more coming, and it actually created this really long line just for the pizza. But we do know that the students were still attending the event based on the statistics we have. So in addition to our free pizza, we had cookies that were donated by Subway, and then we also approached Raising Cane's, and they donated tea and lemonade. I will caution you, during our first open house, we had to reach out to I'm trying to remember what department it was on campus to make sure that we weren't going to break any of the rules with vendors coming onto campus. In all these cases, the vendors did not come onto campus. They donated it to us and dropped it off, or we picked it up. LSU does not allow them to come onto a campus because that actually works as a sponsorship, and so there's rules about that, and we didn't want to get into that. So that's one word of caution. Be careful and check the rules on that if you're getting food donated to your event. So the other easy decision that we had to make is, do we want prizes and do we want it to be fun? Because we knew that that was what would get students in. And so again, this is the type of thing that we didn't have a budget for. We didn't have money to buy prizes to donate to students. So we started approaching some of our library vendors and local businesses, and we were super excited to be able to get things like the first year we had a Nook donated to us, and then later we had things like a Kindle Fire, and last year we even had an iPad mini, a Kindle Fire, and a Fitbit. We had gift cards from different businesses around campus, from restaurants. We had coupons donated to us because we actually had gift bags that we gave out to the first 150, I think, participants that went to all the stations. And so these gift bags included goodies from different vendors, from campus units that donated to have things like koozies and pins, and different vendors actually donated things. And so we had lots of, as like library people like to say, we had lots of swag in the bags. And so it was really exciting. The students got super excited about getting things like pins. And the one thing that the library did have a budget for that we contributed to these prize bags was little cases with earbuds in it that had our logo on the outside of that. Now, that was something that we had a budget for, but if we did not have the money for, we would have just made do without that. Something else we decided early on after our first event was that we had to get Mike the Tiger to come to our open house. And so this was something that was very important to us. We really felt like, based on his popularity on campus, that having Mike the Tiger come through the library and participate in our open house in a costume, because we did the Halloween theme and encouraged costumes, that it would just really add another level of fun and word of mouth and the buzz on campus that something's going on in the library. We had music playing in the lobby, and some people question that decision, but our lobby is not a quiet zone, and so we had music pumping in the lobby, and it really, people came in and was like, what's going on in the library? They were super excited about it. Our decorations were kind of all over, like Randa mentioned. We had a lot of it as do it yourself. All the departments kind of got into it. And then we encouraged all of our employees to dress up in costumes. You can see our Lewis friends here dressed up at their station. It was a lot of fun to have them included in this every year. So another decision that we had to make that really helped us improve from year to year was our publicity. So how are we going to advertise our open house? How are we going to let people know that we have this? Especially with a limited budget, we don't have a lot of money to be able to really take out a lot of ads or really spend a lot of money on that. Are we going to do this in-house? Are we going to contract it out if we can afford to contract it out? And one thing I will tell you is that check and see who's willing to help you. Think about people that might be willing to participate in an event like this. We knew that ITS Print Desk, they're in the library, and they're a good partner with us, and so we actually approached them to help us with printing our posters for our event. And so we were able to get them, they printed these posters for free at no cost to us, which saved us a lot of money. I don't know if we would have been able to do as many posters if we had to pay for it. You can see the example in the photo that our posters, I feel like, looked very professional, and a lot of that has to do with finding out our own library staff talent. And so we had one of our staff members over at LSU Archives who actually has a graphic design background and loves to draw and create. And she really, she became a part of our team and has really developed this whole theme that we have. The design you see at the top, it came from the library with the octopus kind of coming, arms coming out. And then you can see on the poster with our, I don't know if it's really hard to tell here, but we have Frankenstein and zombies and werewolves, and she's kind of created all this. And it's really kind of added a different level to our promotional material. So look for free or inexpensive promotional methods. We handed out bookmarks we picked a day, like about a week before the library, and we stood in the lobby of the library and just handed out bookmarks and flyers to students, telling them to come to the library's open house, to come and get free food, and come and get a chance to win an iPad mini, and come, we would say come find out about the library, but we knew that if we promoted the free stuff and the fun stuff, that would lure them in. So the thing that with the publicity we learned each time, what works, what doesn't work. We made mistakes along the way, and so this kind of helped us figure out how to improve from one year to the next. So spring 2014, we asked the question, how did you find out about the open house? We wanted to find out what publicity was working. We didn't really have a lot of publicity that first year, and so you can see the bookmark and flyer that we kind of handed out was really the largest vote getter. This was how most people found out about our event. But following closely behind that is students that said they didn't hear about the event. They found out about it when they walked in the library. So, and then right behind that was professor or librarian, and this is because we encouraged our liaison librarians to contact their faculty to tell them about the open house, ask them to offer extra credit, especially classes that maybe the students would benefit from finding out about our resources. And also our librarian instructors that taught library classes also offered it as extra credit. And so one thing I will like to highlight on here, if you see the student newspaper, 3 from the right, it's just a little nudge on there. We only had 2% of our respondents say that they saw the advertisement that we ran in the student newspaper. We actually spent a couple $100 on an ad. It was almost half our budget, half of what we spent overall to run that ad, and we only had 2% that saw it. So we made a decision that was too expensive and not effective, and we decided not to even advertise in the student newspaper. It didn't have the reach that we thought it would have. And then we also only had 2% find out about it via social media. We realized that we needed to improve our social media in the future and figure out a way to increase our publicity so that students didn't tell us that they didn't hear about the event. So in 2014, you'll notice the next bar is added on here, the white, that we definitely decreased that number of students that didn't hear about the event. There's a lot less of those. But you'll notice that the top vote getter here is a banner that we actually spent money on, and it was 50, let's see, I'm trying to remember the percentage. 51% of our respondents said they found out about our event by the banner that we hung outside the library. We spent money on one. Let's see, I'm trying to remember how much. It's on another slide, I think. But we hung it outside the library. They also found out about it from the professors and librarians again, and the bookmarks and flyers were still good. We added an option for word of mouth because we started figuring out that students were telling their friends about it during the event, and students would come in. And we had an increase in websites. That's both the LSU Libraries website and the LSU website. And then we had TV monitors in different buildings on campus. And we did increase our social media presence slightly. So finally, in fall 2015, even though the numbers are lower, the percentages are still about the same. The banner decreased a little bit, and I'm going to explain a little why that decrease happened. But professor and librarian still tends to be our highest vote getter, so that really is free publicity. That's getting out there and telling people face-to-face, emailing people, offering extra credit. These are things that don't cost anything. The bookmarks and flyers, we printed those in-house the first 2 years, and last year we did have bookmarks printed professionally. But still, we did a lot of this on the free or inexpensive route. And so you can see here that we really feel like we're in the right direction in what we're using for publicity. And the data that we collected helped us make this decision. So I'm going to talk specifically about one example of how we use the publicity to make a decision with the banner. So the banner you see in the picture here is the banner that we used this past fall. And you might notice that it's in our lobby. It's in front of the book drop. And what happened was that we had a generic banner made for fall 2014. And when I say generic, it had LSU Libraries Open House. And then it had the date and time on a little Velcro tab that you could take off and then have another tab with the date and time put in next year. And we were going to reuse that same banner every year, so it was a way to save money. But what we found was that 50% of our students saw the banner. The banner cost $119, and so that means it was a 19-cent per participant investment. And so then we really felt like we should make a banner themed each year and really draw into our whatever our theming was. And so we made our banner for last year more stylized with our specifics, and it has the same design, the arms of the octopus coming out. But after we ordered it, there was a change to LSU's rules on campus about outside banners. They're no longer allowed on campus. And so we kind of were at a loss of what to do. And so we decided to hang it in the lobby, because we still had, where this book drop is where a lot of foot traffic goes to the library to go straight to our coffee shop. So we do have some students that walk in the library, go to the coffee shop, and walk out. So we still felt like we would have an impact, and we were curious to see what the decrease would be. So you can see that there was 35% of the students said they saw the banner inside the library lobby. So it was not quite as effective as the outside banner. We helped offset that. We had a poster that we put on the inside of our library's window facing the outside of the building. We felt like that wasn't quite the same thing as hanging a banner outside, because it was on the inside of the window, and nobody told us to remove it, so that seemed to work. So our future decision about next year, really what we're going to do with the banner, that's going to be for the committee to decide whether we want to invest in a banner again or go back and use that generic one that we had before. That's always another option if we don't have a budget, because I know that the budget is on everyone's mind right now, and so we have to be realistic and realize we might not have the funds that we had in the past. So another decision that we used data to help us decide was our layout. And by our layout, I mean where our stations are located within the library, how many stations we have, where our check-in and check-out is at, where is our food located. And so all these things we realized we were having problems with traffic. We realized we were having problems with bottlenecks in certain areas. And especially in that first floor, the first floor on the first year was super crowded. And so we kind of redistributed the stations. We still had crowding issues because we had double the people the next year. And so that kind of gave us it's a good problem to have, actually. And so we actually, this last year, in fall 2015, we decreased our number of stations to 13, so we had less. We still had the same number of people roughly come through the library, but we tried to refocus our attention on making some changes with our stations, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the new problems that arose from that. Because you seem to, we still keep coming back to the same problem with traffic and bottlenecks, and it could be that that's just going to be an issue that we have with pulling off an event like this in the library. So we made a decision with our activities that we had at each station. In spring and fall 2014, the stations were by department title, and so the departments were highlighting their services and resources, and some of them were going to be much more beneficial to students, especially remember our focus, we changed our fall 2015 to focus on incoming freshmen, undergraduates, and some of the services and resources that were being highlighted were not things that those students were going to use. And so we actually took away some of those stations and made a change where we wanted to have the activities be more of a focus. So we kind of made this decision because we got some feedback from students that said things like, one station made you play a game to get your sticker, and it was so much more fun. I actually learned something rather than just hearing someone talk. Someone else said that the stations were really verbose. We asked people at the stations to kind of limit their talking points, but sometimes people just get excited about what they do, and they don't realize how long they're keeping the students. And so students were saying they had more fun. They actually learned something when the stations were more interactive, like government documents did. So what we did was we made a change, and it was a pretty major change, and we based it on these few comments that we got. That all the stations would be more activity-based and function-based instead of being department-based, and that at each station they would have some type of game or interactive activity, and we were really excited about it. But we ended up having some unintended consequences that came from that. We had students kind of complaining about how long it was taking them to get through it. We had a drop-off in the number of students that completed the open house. We had traffic. We had crowding, especially in the lobby. And what we discovered was that some of the stations were taking, because they were doing these activities, it was taking too long for students to get through, and they were getting frustrated, and the long lines were creating lots of traffic. And so what we have to decide for this year is, was this a bad decision? Or was the data flawed? Was the information that we based this on just a couple of people that complained, a couple of people that wanted it to be a certain way and everybody else really enjoyed it the way it was? Or was our decision bad? And I've kind of come to the conclusion that data is imperfect and incomplete sometimes, and that you move forward with what you have and you make decisions based on what information you have in front of you. And then you tweak and make those adjustments along the way as more data becomes available. So for making our decision for this year, if we do this, is that we would definitely look at this information and try to figure out, do we want to stick with this activity-based, or do we want to go back to department-based, or do we want to do a combination of the two? So that's going to be a decision to make for later this year. So the big decision, that I feel like that if you're going to do anything like this open house, is should we continue to host this open house? And we asked students in spring of 2014 if attending the open house increased their awareness of the library's resources and services, and 88% of them told us, yes, it increased their awareness. And so we asked an open-ended question in fall 2014 and 2015. We asked students, what is one thing you learned from participating? And the surprising thing that we found out is that 95% of students actually answered that question. And I don't know if you're like me. Sometimes when I do surveys and there's an open-ended question, I'm not always going to answer it. Sometimes I don't want to take the time to type in a response. And 95% of our respondents actually did that. They actually gave us really good answers. They talked about all the different areas that were represented at our open house. They were talking about library databases that they learned about, and special collections, and even our music library, our interlibrary loan, or ebooks, lots of things that they learned about. And I put a few quotes here that I thought just really kind of helped bring it home for us and help us know that this is one of the reasons that we host the open house. This is why we're doing it, and this is why will continue to kind of fight for an open house every year as an annual event, the students found out that we have lots of resources that they don't use, and that they found out that not all librarians are scary, which I was just amazed at, that they think we're scary. So seeing us have fun, seeing us in costume, seeing us, kind of let loose a little bit with them actually makes us more approachable. And so they also found out, that if you can't find something, that we'll track it down and help them. And I think these are all things that, as librarians, it's exciting to know that students can actually learn something like this from our event. So we believe that all this data helps us determine that, yes, this justifies us hosting this open house again next year. So we're going to close with this last quote that we just really loved. The student said, "I had a blast and the prizes were awesome and I learned so much. Can't wait to do it again next year." This represents a lot of comments that we got very similar to that, and it really justifies our decision to make the event fun and that they would still learn something. We had some people in the library that even questioned us making this event fun, that we should make it more educational. And kind of our argument was that we will make it educational. They'll learn something while they're having fun, and they may not even realize they're learning something in the process. So we hope that you guys will get some ideas and for maybe an event that you might want to do. But we're going to open it up for any questions if you maybe have any questions for us this time. And again, you can see this picture of Mike the Tiger here. We couldn't figure out if he was dressed up like a cow or a Dalmatian. So he came as Batman the first time, and then last year he came in this. I think it's a cow. Not really sure, but anybody, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat box or let us know if you have any questions. Our emails are on the first slide. Let's see if I can pull it back up, Randa. Yeah. See if I can get that first slide back up with our emails.
This is Jamie from Lewis. I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say I think he's a Dalmatian because of the floppy ears. And I'll just say that I did.
You, Jamie?
I did, yes. I worked really hard on that costume, too. Third-degree burns and everything. I just wanted to say that Lewis has had a really fun time participating, and we've mentioned that if any other libraries out there decide to host open houses, we would be happy to come join in. And if we can't actually make it there, depending on what the schedules are, we, could help sponsor or send some information for y'all to distribute. Anything we can do to help out. So if y'all have any interest in that, just let us know. All right, well, I don't see anybody typing any questions, so I guess, Rebecca, I'll go ahead and turn off the recorder.
Okay, great.
And everybody, we will be distributing the recording and we'll be posting it soon. It takes WebEx a little longer than